Good afternoon, this is Media Center Ukraine Odesa, and we continue for today. You can watch us online on our YouTube channel or in our Facebook page. You can also ask your questions online through messengers, and you can now see the information on your screen. Our current topic is privatization of the unified property complex of the state enterprise TVK. Our speakers are Victoria Lysiuk, acting head of the regional office of the State Property Fund of Ukraine in Odesa and Mykolaiv regions, Andriy Lupenko, deputy head lawyer of the state enterprise TVK, and Vadym Stapinsky, the deputy head of the legal department of the State Property Fund of Ukraine in Odesa and Mykolaiv regions. Thank you for joining us today, and I would like to give floor to Victoria first. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to this event. And I'd like to explain that today we're discussing a very important issue for our economy. This is a very important project, privatization of the unified property complex of the state enterprise TVK. Today, we would also like to emphasize that, taking into consideration the war that we are facing, we require new decisions and innovations. The privatization allows us to involve investments, to create new working places that will improve the economic development. When it comes to TVK, this is a successful business which is located on the territory adjacent to the industrial market, the 7th kilometer, and it has administrative spaces and administrative premises with a total area of 35,368.5 square meters. In particular, there are 17 warehouse premises with an average of 2,000 square meters each. We, on the 29th of November, had first auction, but unfortunately we received no bids. And we hope that the possible investors can participate in the second auction, because the starting price will be by 50% less. So the starting price of the auction will be over 104,100,000 hryvnias. And I would like to invite all investors to participate in the auction, and the latest possibility for the bid will be on at 12 p.m. And the auction date is the 29th of November 2023. Could you just put the mic closer to you? After the auction, we will be able to provide more information, but now the deputy head of the legal department, Vadym Stapinsky, can share more information about that. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And we hope that we will have a winner of the electronic auction on the 7th of. And the legislation for investors envisages simplifications after the auction, and the buyer will need to just to meet some simple criteria. This is related to the property right, and the investor will need just to deal with the possible salary debt, but there is no salary debt, and also to cover the debts if they are for the state budget. One more condition is not to fire employees. There are 20 employees, and this should be during 6 months for this condition. And the last requirement is just to stop the status of the legal owner, and this should be during 1 year. And I believe that for such a big enterprise, which has a well-developed logistics and accessways, and which is almost adjacent to the territory of the 7th kilometer market, and I think that such conditions are very simple to fulfill, appeal to get such a facility. And we hope to have a winner, to have a buyer. That's why we would like to invite to participate in the auction on the 7th of December. And what is the budget debt? And for this information, I can give floor to Andriy Lupenko, who can provide more information about economic activity. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. As for the debt issue, there are no debts when it comes to the budget revenue. When it comes to salary and taxes, so this is clean and liquid enterprise, no arrears. As for the revenue of the enterprise, so it is a profitable enterprise, 3.6 million. This is the general revenue of the enterprise for 1 month, including operational costs, salary, and also the maintenance of the territory of the enterprise. After the privatization, what increase in revenue do you expect and in profit? It is difficult to answer. It depends on the specifics of the enterprise activities. If that will not change, I don't think there could be some significant increase in income. But if we change the nature of enterprise activities, and for example, they can change services, not only the services to provide it for warehouses and containers, but also to widen the set of services. We also have a big territory, around 3.5 hectares, which is free, and they can construct something to increase the profitability of the enterprise. Do conditions envisage the possibilities for changing the nature of the enterprise's activities? I can also answer the question. There are no conditions like that, and there is a specific profile of enterprise activities, but the new buyer can just change the nature of enterprise's activities or even change the possible use of the land plot, but it can be done in 1 year after privatization. There are 20 employees this enterprise, and I can say that we can expect the increased amount of jobs. At the moment, 20 people are enough just to meet the needs of the enterprise. So there is no need in increasing the staff of the enterprise. But if after the privatization the enterprise provides more services, then we can expect the increased number of jobs. But you've mentioned before about the possible increase in staff. We can have the conditions after having new jobs, and if there is an investor or a buyer, and they could be interested in expanding the business. And in this case, I believe that we could expect new jobs there. According to your forecast, how many new jobs we can expect? It depends on the investor. It's difficult to answer the question. This revenue, 3.6 million, do you see any mechanisms to increase this revenue of the enterprise? Or is this a question to Andriy? This is more about economic activity, because there is no condition for the auction to increase the revenue, just the development and creation of new jobs, and also not to fire the employees which are there. When it comes to increased income, it will depend on the new buyer, on the new owner, and it can be achieved by raising tariffs for the services of the enterprise, because at the moment we are trying to find a compromise between counterparts and the management, because it is very difficult to pay rent during the war. On the 29th of November, where the first auction was supposed to take place, the price was 205 million, and you were not able to find a buyer. What is the reason? How do you think? Could I add here? I believe that was a starting price, and I think that it is affected by the war, and unfortunately we have been facing the war. That's why the second auction will be more attractive for possible investors. The law of Ukraine on the privatization of the state and of the public and private property allows for this, and that's why I would like to call for all possible investors to participate in the auction, because the territory is rather large, and I believe that we will have investors participating in the second auction, and they will be able to meet the conditions of the auction. And we expect that the price, which has decreased by 50% comparing to the first auction, could be increased. And this is the starting price is 104 million. How could it increase during the auction? What do you expect? It is difficult to answer the question, but it will increase like by 5-10%. Let's not comment upon that, but just basing on your practice. We have different auctions. Recently, we've seen an auction and with a starting price of 6,000, but a buyer bought it at the price of 100,000. So it is difficult to have any forecast here, because in some auctions they don't see any increase of the starting price or see 5-10% of the increase of the starting price. Everything depends on the number of bids, on the number of participants, or the number of investments. At the second stage, if there is no investor, are you going to decrease price even more for the third stage, or would you preserve this amount of 104 million? I believe that we cannot decrease it anymore, because this is a rather large project for our state, and they need economic growth, because this money will be sent to the state budget. That's why we are hoping to stop at the first stage of the first auction. And what is the state revenue from this enterprise? We pay, you see 3.6 million, this is revenue per month. What amount is budget revenue sent to the budget? And this year, for the last 9 months, we have paid around 800 hryvnias, the part of the net revenue. This is almost 1 million hryvnias, yes. And 2-3 years ago, that indicators was around 200, in two times less. And the math shows that when it is when it is owned by the state, then the revenue will be bigger for the state if it's still publicly owned and not privately owned. There is some logic, but this is the decision of the State Property Fund, and we cannot comment upon that. This is the question to the State Property Fund of Ukraine. Then I would like to answer the question. We see that everything depends on the success of the auction and on the investors that can participate in the auction. This is a profitable enterprise, but we can see an investor that will improve the infrastructure around the 7th kilometer market, that can just establish new jobs, and this means increased taxes, and the budget can receive in 2-3 times even more than it receives now. That's why we should not focus on the revenue at the moment. And what is important, the starting price is more than 100 million, and we know that all money is sent for the armed forces of Ukraine. It is very important for the condition that we are in now. And if investor and possible investor plans, and we hope that there will be investors, then investors should understand that this is how they can also support our army in these difficult times. But there are no guarantees that this amount of 104 million will not be decreased later, because there will be no demand for that. Not in 2 times, but perhaps till 78 million. And then this will be the question of feasibility of this process. But this is the auction. The price can increase, or also it can decrease. And we have the third stage, decreasing the starting price. But we hope that this will not be the case. But this auction will allow, at the expense of competitiveness, to significantly increase the price. Have you been contacted by investors with regard to privatization? Perhaps they did not participate, but ask some questions. And what is the barrier for them? What hinders them from participating in this auction? We are in contact with investments. We've had telephone communication with them. They asked questions. We provided our answers at the privatization facility, and they were interested in such questions as infrastructure in general of this enterprise, its location, and the fact that this facility has no credit debt in face of the state is very attractive for investors, and this is the advantage of this facility if we compare the facilities that were privatized through other actions by the regional departments. But despite the credit debt, we were able to sell those facilities. And I believe that this facility is more interesting and more attractive for investors, because this is a ready, successful business. So the action will take place on the 7th of December, and people can apply till the 6th of December till 8 p.m. Thank you very much for joining us today, and this is the last briefing for today. Thank you.